in the WHA really in relation to the standings, Gary, with the Aeros in 4th place, and they are tied in effect with Edmonton, just 5 points behind Quebec, with 33 points apiece. Birmingham with 30, Cincinnati with 30, and then Indianapolis with 24. But those 4 clubs, or even 5 clubs, from Quebec to Cincinnati on down, there's going to be quite a scramble to see if any one club can separate and pick up into that number 3 spot. If you get into that 3rd spot, you can take a run at the leaders. You've got New England with 51 points and Winnipeg in 2nd place with 43.
All right, moving to center ice for the Aeros, John Tonelli, Ted Taylor, and Cam Connor. For the Bulls, Peter Marin, Paul Henderson, and Tony Casalato are almost ready for second period action. Some problem with the ice down below to the right side of the center ice red line as we look at it from here. The linesmen work on that. They're busy little guys.
I'll tell you, they'll scrape up a little bit of snow and pack it into, if they have a bit of a chip out of the ice, right down to the concrete floor, Jerry. There's a concrete floor under this ice. The ice is about maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, and they keep it cool enough to keep that ice good and solid.
Yeah, but they don't do windows. Face off in the center ice zone. Tonelli against Marin on the draw. The second period is underway. Now Taylor for the Aeros. Got it to Al McLeod, shooting it to the Birmingham zone. Back to get it for the Bulls. Westrom, the former Minnesota Fighting Saints defenseman. Now to Hoganson. On right wing it comes to Casalato. Now to Marin trying to clear it. Connor holds it in. Now the puck picked up by Westrom, shoots it to center on right wing for Hoganson, flips it into the Houston zone. Going in after it for the Bulls is Henderson. It's cleared away by Zimmerman, the Aeros goaltender. Now John Hughes fails to clear it. It's held in by Birmingham. Ted Taylor pokes it away for the Aeros. It's picked up in center ice by Westrom. He's bumped by Connor heavily along the boards and dropped. Now on the far wing, it's Taylor in his own zone for the Aeros. John Hughes falls on his own accord. Picked up by Al McLeod. He tried to get it to Tonelli. He does. Over on right wing now for Taylor. Taylor in the center ice zone for the Aeros, moving in with Connor. Taylor in on the right wing, looking to make a play, tried to center it. Westrom breaks it up. Here's Tonelli in after it, now to Taylor. Taylor takes a hit from Casalato. Al McLeod in, overskates it, and here come the Bulls. Marin tried to clear it. Got it to Henderson in the center ice zone. Back to Marin. Taylor after him. Marin and Taylor fight for it along the far boards in center ice. Here's McLeod for the Aeros. Tried to get it to Tonelli, who was off the target. And picking it up is Casalato in his own zone. Now to Hoganson, moving out in center ice. Lead pass for Henderson, moving in against Hughes and Lukowicz. Pulled down on the play by Lukowicz. No penalty called, and the Bulls can't believe it. Here comes John Hughes in center ice for the Aeros. Long shot, right on. Stopped by the goaltender, Garrett. He sets it up for defenseman Steve Durbano. Checked on the play by Ruskowski. Here comes Gorman out in center ice. Checked by Preston. Now up with it. Dave Henson. Terry Ruskowski after him. They fight for it. Ruskowski's pulled down. Play moves right on. Now it's cleared into the Houston zone. Play is stopped now. It's going to be called offside at the Houston blue line. At the end of 2 periods, a correction in that earlier score we gave you, Cincinnati and Quebec. We were told it was the Stingers leading 3-0 in the 3rd period. Well, at the end of 2, it's the Cincinnati Stingers 2 and the Quebec Nordiques nothing. Face-off will be outside of the Houston blue line as the referee has a little meeting with one of the linesmen, Mickey Jasko. Here's Terry Ruskowski on the draw against Dave Gorman, just outside of the blue line of the Houston Aeros. Now referee Ron Eagle blowing his whistle. He's over at the Birmingham bench talking it over with Glenn Sonmore, the Birmingham coach. One thing about Glenn Sonmore, he's just as fiery as his hockey club. He's a competitive guy, isn't he?
He is not afraid to speak his mind, and Ron Eagle is saying, hey, probably saying cool it a little bit, or I'm going to have to give you a bench minor. Ron's got a pretty good relationship with the players and with the coaches and that. He's been around for a while, and he can handle these situations without getting them out of hand.
Here is Hansen into the Houston zone after the puck. Shella has it for the Aeros, trying to clear it. Hit by Gorman. The Aeros clear it down the ice. Steve Durbano back to get it in his own zone for the Bulls. Checked on the play. Ruskowski and Preston knocked Durbano down. Now the puck is cleared down in center ice, and here comes Phil Roberto for Birmingham. Into the Houston zone. Drop pass now to Hansen. Ruskowski after him. Hansen checked by Ruskowski. It's cleared around. Durbano with the point shooting. That's off the target. Now Hansen tried to flip it in front. Does. It's knocked away by Zimmerman. Here's Durbano after it. It's knocked wide. Penalty coming up here as we have Ruskowski pushing in front with Durbano. And there's going to be a penalty here, I believe, to Rich Preston. And now the linesman standing in front of that Aeros goal. And I think Preston's going to get the gate here for the Aeros. Let's wait and see from referee Ron Eagle. Yeah, it's a cross-checking penalty to the Aeros. Rich Preston at 2:15 of the second period. Birmingham, who trails 1-0, will have the man advantage.
Well, anytime in front of that net or beside the net, the Birmingham club are big and solid, and they're going to try and jam the front of the net. You've got to clear them out of there. All that hard work in front. Preston, taking the man into the boards, really did not get the stick up in that cross-checking position. But with all the activity, Ron Eagle, I think just feeling somebody had to go, and Rich Preston was the one that got the nod.
Face-off will be to the right of the Houston goaltender, Lynn Zimmerman. Larry Lund out with Terry Ruskowski, Paul Popiel, and John Schella. The Bulls go with Stewart. He's had a bushel load of chances here tonight already, along with Mahavlich and Napier up front. Brent Hughes and Dale Hoganson on the points. Face off to the right of Aeros goaltender Lynn Zimmerman. The Bulls get the draw at the left point. Brent Hughes in along the boards now for Stewart. Centers it. Mahavlich a shot. What a save by Zimmerman. Larry Lund knocks it down to the corner. Tried to clear it out. It's held in by Hoganson. Hoganson for the Bulls at the right point. Now over along the near boards. Brent Hughes in a shot. He scores! Hughes, as Zimmerman was screened in front. Hughes scores on the power play for Birmingham to tie it at 1-1.
Well, Brent Hughes has been a thorn in the side of the Aeros in that last game at home. He was a big factor. He parked himself in front, and he redirected that puck in front of the net. It looked like Henderson may have gotten a piece of it to change the direction in between the legs of Zimmerman. There was a little hole there, and in she went.
I think it may have been Stewart who changed directions on it if he did touch it. We'll wait for the official announcement. Goal by Hughes. They put up on the scoreboard, and that makes it 1-1. Here is Brent Hughes clearing it in for Stewart. That's too far ahead. Zimmerman out to try to clear it away. Gave it away. A shot. They score! Mahavlich as the Aeros gave it away in their own zone. They got a little careless in the big end. Frank Mahavlich puts Birmingham on top, and the Coliseum erupts.
Well, the momentum in the hockey game was really the Aeros until the last couple of seconds. Zimmerman, controlling that puck, just dumped it, went off the inside of the stick of the Birmingham player, and Mahavlich was right in front. Really a tough break. That's a real tough break for the Aeros.
Back to live action. The Aeros in offside at the Birmingham blue line. Stewart made the play as he deflected that pass by Lynn Zimmerman. That's one thing. If a goaltender is going to come out and handle that puck, he better make doggone sure he gets it by the guy who's in forechecking it.
Well, that was kind of unusual because Zimmy went to the safe side. He went to the safe side, Jerry. He fired it along or toward the boards. Really hard to figure that you could get in trouble that way. He was shooting it up the boards. It went off the inside of the stick out in front.
Back to live action. It's John Schella in center ice to John Gray. Gray in for Larry Lund. It's taken away by Durbano, and here comes Marin for Birmingham, clearing it into the Houston zone. Zimmerman out. Has that puck. Tried to shoot it around. Henderson does. In the corner, here's Schella. Schella tried to dig it out of there. Durbano holds it in with a shot. It goes wide. Along the far boards, here's Popiel in against Henderson. Gray moving in there. Now got it to Paul Popiel. Paul Popiel for the Aeros, starting out of his own zone, still with that puck. Popiel, lead pass in center ice for Gray, moving in on the left wing. They call that one a two-line pass, and play is called. Face-off will return to the Houston zone. And from the Coliseum in Birmingham, this is Houston Aeros Hockey. Outdoor Equipment Incorporated. John Tonelli for the Aeros, trying to move into the Birmingham zone, was bumped back by Turkowitz. Turkowitz in his own zone in the near corner now to Steve Durbano. Gave it away to Turner in front. He was checked to the play by Merritt. Here's Henderson moving out. The Aeros shoot it back in. It's offside. Birmingham Bulls picking up 2 unanswered goals thus far in the second period, leading the hockey game 2-1.
Well, a little turnaround there for the Aeros in front of that Birmingham zone. They just couldn't get the shot away. Camp Connor was in good position. It would have been almost an equalizer there, as the Aeros have had a couple of tough breaks here in the second period.
Scoring plays, Hughes on the power play, his 7th from Hoganson, and Mahavlich tied it at 1-1 at 2:31 of the period. Then Mahavlich from Stewart at 2:43 put the Bulls on top, 2-1. It was Mahavlich, his 7th goal of the season. Here's Brent Hughes trying to clear it for Birmingham. Got it to Dave Gorman, shooting it in center ice, and here's Phil Roberto for the Bulls. Clears it up into the crowd, and play is called. There will be a face-off coming up over along the far boards in center ice. 15:51 remaining here in the second period. Houston on top, 2-1. A good-sized crowd on hand here in Birmingham tonight.
Well, it looks like at least 9 or 10, maybe even 11,000. A lot of youngsters here tonight, Jerry. Phil Roberto on that right wing for Birmingham has not really played all that great for this club. A couple of goals and a couple of assists in 10 games, but he could prove to be a pretty solid winger for you.
Had a very serious arm injury a few years ago while playing for the St. Louis Blues in the offseason. Now we have Lukowicz bumped by Beaton. Now in center ice, here's John Hughes, bumped to the play by Beaton and Westrom. A little pushing and shoving going on. Ruskowski pins Beaton along the glass, and all the players move along the near boards. Now Gorman pushing at Preston. Gorman and Preston pushing at one another. John Hughes gets into it for the Arrows. Westrom in the middle of it. Now Ruskowski there for the Arrows. Everybody milling around right below us here in the center ice area, right at the center ice red line along the near boards. And it seems that order has been restored, but we are getting penalties here. It's called by referee Ron Ego, I believe, to Gorman and to Preston. Two of the guys who aren't really known for their rough stuff.
Well, it's really only a matter of time when things are going to break out there. You take a look at Preston's record. He's got 21 minutes in penalties so far this season, and we take a look at Gorman in that department. He has 40 minutes in penalties, so well, they're not all that inactive. Preston with a couple here tonight earlier.
Now we have Westrom going to the Birmingham goal to our right. Garrett, he's coming off a rather serious eye injury, Jack, and I don't know if it's bothering him or what, but he has the face mask off, and he's talking to referee Ron Ego. What happened to Garrett, did you hear?
Well, he was playing in a game against New England there, and it was, I'd say about, let's see, he suffered an eye injury in a game against the Whalers December 27th, and this is his first start back in the net, Gary. Anytime you get an eye injury, you want to be very sure. The doctors are very particular. A jolt around the eye for a goaltender, you can get a little bit of blood bleeding inside the eye that can cause you some problems. So they are very, very careful about that and make sure that that injury is well over before they'll start a goaltender back in action. This is hard, and of course, they're on that ice entire game, every game.
2-1, the Bulls leading. The Arrows have it inside their own line. Morris Lukowicz in the center ice zone for Houston. Moving into the Birmingham zone, trying to get around Westrom. In a shot! Hit the side of the net. It's covered up now by the goaltender, Garrett. And he holds on. Face-off will be to the left of goaltender John Garrett. Morris Lukowicz using that quickness of his.
Well, good speed. He hit the blue line. He kept skating, and that's the difference. He worked his way around the player, and then on the backhand, he didn't have much of an angle, but you never know. Sometimes those pucks will work their way between the legs.
How did Westrom play that? Should he have backed up a little bit, tried to keep the angle on?
Yeah, but it's the speed of Lukowicz that catches you, but he did keep him to the outside, and that's the important thing. Then the goaltender, as Garrett could and did on that play, keeps the good angle.
Back to live action. Durbano in his own zone on the left wing for John Stewart. Tried to clear it over on right wing. He does to Bob Stevenson, moving in against Larry Hale. Stevenson cutting in a shot. The trickling shot stopped by Zimmerman. Rebound, tucked in on the short side, stopped by Zimmerman. As Stewart had another chance. Now at the point, Turkowitz misses it. Has to go back in his own zone after it for the Birmingham Bulls. They lead 2-1. Each team a man short for a minute and 25 seconds. Here is Stewart for Birmingham in the center ice zone. Tried to flip it ahead for Turkowitz. Ruskowski takes it away, but he lost it to Stewart. Moving in, a shot stopped by the Arrows goaltender Zimmerman. He holds on. Stewart played a strong game tonight for the Bulls. He's not very well known, I don't think, in hockey circles. He's a college youngster who played at Bowling Green and a little bit for the Cleveland Crusaders in this league, but pretty good hockey player from the looks of things.
Well, I know Bill Deneen always liked him. He seems to have good ability to move the puck around, and he's a pretty intelligent hockey player. He looks like he's added a little beef, Jerry. One of the criticisms before was he just did not have the strength, but he seems a little bit heavier now.
John Zanelli out with Don Laraway against John Stewart and Bob Stevenson. Face off to the right of Zimmerman in the Houston zone. The Bulls get the draw to Durbano. Back at the right point for Turkowitz. He didn't know which way to turn. Goes back in center ice to get it. Flips it ahead. Now Paul Popeil intercepts the Laraway. In for John Zanelli. One man back. A shot. He's scored! John Zanelli, a wicked slap shot. Moving in off the left wing. Ties it at 2-2.
A perfect passing combination. You could not get a better one than that. That puck was moved around with exactly the right expertise. They took that puck on the left wing, a good lead pass, and then a good pass at the blue line to set Zanelli in all alone, and whoo, did he ever wind up on that one, up in that upper corner. You know, you get him that good, you got to be excited about him. That was a great goal.
Great goal, and a fine young hockey player, John Zanelli. He's going to get better and better. Here come the Bulls back the other way into the Houston zone. A shot, just missed by Merritt. Now Popeil taken out by Castellato. Marin with that puck. Got it to Castellato, shooting. Zimmerman the save. He drops it off, covers up on it now. But Castellato closing it.
I'll tell you, as I watch Zimmy in the net, Trooper, he played that game the other night, and I did not see the game, listened to it, of course, but he has picked up a lot of confidence. He is playing very solid goal in there for the Arrows right now.
Bill Dineen directing traffic over the Arrows bench, sends Larry Lunn out to get the face-off. Larry Lunn, one of the best face-off men around, if not the best in
Probably.
the WHA.
I would say probably the best. He's got that big blade of his, maximum length and width, and it comes in handy.
Face off to the right of Zimmerman in the Houston zone. Lunn gets the draw, put it back in front of Zimmerman. He sets it up for Paul Popeil. Popeil for the Arrows on right wing for Shella. Moving up to his own line in center ice for Larry Lunn. Lunn flips it down into the corner in the Birmingham zone. Garrett flips it around on right wing for Castellato. Play is called. And I believe the Arrows may be called here for too many men on the ice. Whoa. Let's wait and see. Now looking over at the Arrows bench is Ego. Wait, I think somebody may have thrown something from the crowd, and I think that's what's stopping play. I think something may have been thrown from the crowd, or was it a whistle from the crowd? The officials looking back up this way behind the Arrows bench, and the crowd looking around. Let's see if Ego is going to call a penalty or what. I don't think it's a penalty against the Arrows. What is it when you change players, Jack? The player going off the ice and the player coming on, they have to be within 10 feet of the bench to be considered out of the play, right?
And, of course, they have to watch playing the puck, too. The referee will take that into consideration. The guy that's going off has to be careful not to make a play on the puck while the other man is on the ice. So you're right, Jerry. Apparently someone in the stands with a whistle. Anything like that, throwing something on the ice or anything that distracts the players, makes them think that the play is stopped or has not stopped, that can cause serious injury to a hockey player. He has to rely on the calls and the whistles that they indicate a stoppage of play. If somebody sort of slows up and thinks the play is over and somebody else wires him with a shot when he's not expecting it, that's when you're going to get hurt.
Referee Ron Eagle over talking to Glenn Sonmore had earlier talked to Bill Dineen saying, look at boys, the three of us out there have the whistles, don't listen to the crowd. Now the Arrows clear it into the Birmingham zone. Going in Laraway at the right point for Shella. Shella over to the left point for Paul Popeil, takes the shot. Garrett, the stick save. Now the puck picked up by the Bulls. Here comes Marin. Checked by John Tonelli. What a good effort by Tonelli. He lost it now to Hoganson. 18 seconds left in the penalties. Hoganson moving in. Tonelli breaks it up. Now here's Shelley in after it against Marin. They bang it along the boards. Now here's Tonelli moving in against Castellato, battling for it. Puck comes back to Westrom shooting. Stopped in front by John Shella with the skate. He lost it. Gets it again for the Arrows. Shella having trouble moving out of his own zone. Checked by Marin. Shella still working hard. Shella, as the penalized players are back on, fails to clear it. Shella comes up with it again for the Arrows. Looking for an opening. Clears it around on left wing now to Paul Popeil. He flipped it out in center ice. It's picked up by Laraway. Now to Tonelli. Ahead for Laraway. Too far. Racing it after down Laraway against Hoganson. Hoganson bumps Laraway into the boards. Laraway played the puck, put it onside. And here come the Bulls back. Roberto down the right wing in center ice. That's the Houston blue line shooting it wide. Going in after it, Scott Campbell for the Arrows. Plays it around on the wing. Tonelli couldn't get to it. Gorman at the blue line holds it in. Now Al McLeod has it in the far corner. Hit on the play by Roberto. Up with the puck. Roberto in the corner now for Gorman. Checked by McLeod. Up with it, Roberto again. Looking to make a play. Centers it. Zimmerman intercepts and holds on, and play is called as Preston and Hansen have words with one another, and the linesman gets between Hansen and Tonelli now as cooler heads prevail.
The amazing thing about tonight's game, even though you've got two very physical hockey clubs out there, the speed of the game's been pretty good. The tempo of the game's been pretty good, and there's been some fine playmaking out there, good passing, along with the hitting. So it's been an exciting and entertaining game to watch. We hope you're enjoying a third simulcast of the season.
Face off to the right of Zimmerman. They get it to Hansen. Checked on the play by Taylor, but Brent Hughes holds it in. Now to Hansen in the corner. Back at the point for Brent Hughes. In that Houston zone, he centers it. Roberto was checked. Now up with it. Roberto along the near boards at the left point for Turkowitz. Now to Roberto. He missed it. Here's Hansen on the end boards against Scott Campbell. They bang up along the end boards in the Houston zone. It's centered. Zimmerman knocks it away. Now Scott Campbell on right wing for Steve West. Hansen drills him into the corner. The Arrows can't clear it. Now Taylor has it go to the center ice zone. Picking it up, Brent Hughes for Birmingham. Watched by Ted Taylor. Chased back inside his own line. Now to Jim Turkowitz. To Dave Hansen. Connor steps into him. Now the puck cleared out in center ice. It's picked up by Al McLeod for the Arrows. 2-2 game. Here's Scott Campbell. He's bumped on the play by Hansen. They push and shove. Now it's cleared into the Birmingham zone. They give it away to Connor. Connor in front for Taylor, couldn't get to it. West goes down. Here comes Roberto back for Birmingham to his own line in center right. Bill Roberto moving in across the line in the top side with Gorman in ahead of the play over on the left wing. And from the Coliseum in Birmingham, this is Hьюстон Aéros hockey. Back to check up. The Aeros getting a little careless in their own zone. Here comes Lukowicz out with it. 3-on-2. Ahead for Ruskowski in on right wing against Westrom. Ruskowski to Lukowicz. Lukowicz stops now. Back at the left point, Paul Popia holds it in with a nice play. In on the inboards for Terry Ruskowski. He was checked by Westrom. Ruskowski steals it, looking to center it. Ruskowski with it. At the right point, Shella, the shot. Oh, way up into the crowd. Well, the space program got a little aid there, assisted by John Shella. He let one go. It looked like one of those Vanguard rockets taking off.
Of course, Shell trying to get it away quickly. He had a lot of guys converging on the net, and that means timing. If you can get that puck to the front of the net quickly, the goaltender is probably going to give you a good rebound, and you've got the guys in front, you might as well take advantage of them.
11:03 remaining in the second period of play. It's the Aeros 2, the Birmingham Bulls 2. Lund, Gray, and Laraway out against Marin, Henderson, and Castellano for the Birmingham Bulls. Now John Hughes clears it to the Birmingham line. Brent Hughes knocks it down. They clear it over to Castellano, who shoots it down to the Houston zone. Back to get it and touching it, Campbell. The Bulls are called for icing. Mike Napier is coming off a bout with the flu, and he hasn't seen that much ice time tonight, Jackson.
Well, there's been a lot of problems with this Birmingham club as far as injuries and illness. The Aeros having the same problem, Jerry. You were saying that a lot of the guys picking up the flu in this last road trip. It's tough when you're traveling as much as they are, and you're hitting different climatic zones, going up to that cold north and then hitting a little area of Cincinnati, down into the south a little bit. You know what it's all about.
Be nice to head home tomorrow, I'll tell you. Aeros in action with 2 games this weekend at the Summit. Tomorrow night against Indianapolis, and on Sunday night, a 6 o'clock game against the Edmonton Oilers, and that should be a dandy. Face off to the right of Garrett in the Birmingham zone. Larry Lund against Peter Marin. They get lined up for the draw. Now they're ready. And from the face-off, Marin got it back to Brent Hughes, back of his own goal for Birmingham, watched by Larry Lund. Now over on left wing for DeBano, misses the check by Laraway in center ice. Here's Henderson clearing it into the far corner of the Aero zone. Zimmerman out to play it away from Marin. Now Lund steps into a man. The Aeros hitting everything that moves right now, and here comes Laraway for Houston with Connor. Laraway in the center ice zone, has it knocked away by Brent Hughes, tried to flip it through for Connor. It's intercepted by Marin and picked up by Birmingham in their own zone. Now Durbano tries to clear it. Scott Campbell couldn't pick it up. It's picked up by Durbano, moving out on the left wing in the center ice zone. Durbano moving into the Houston zone, centers it. Here's a pass to Marin. It's knocked away by the Aeros, and here comes Larry Lund. On right wing to Laraway. One man back, 3-on-1 for Houston. Laraway going in deep, centers it. A shot. They got Scott Campbell after a great play by Don Laraway, who pulled out the goaltender. He flipped it in front, and both Lund and Campbell were there, and Campbell pucked it into the empty net to put the Aeros on top of 3-2.
Well, we might have to have more interviews, but quite an effort by Don Laraway on that right wing. He had a 4-on-1. It's good he capitalized on that one. He took everyone with him. The defenseman, the goaltender, and then back to Scott Campbell in pursuit into the open net.
Laraway made a great play to get it through the goaltender and the defenseman, Brent Hughes.
Well, that's what scared me a little bit. After he made the move, I was wondering, with everybody going at him, whether he'd have any room to get it back, but he certainly did.
Here's Taylor for the Aeros now at his own line to Paul Popiel on right wing for Shella. Lead pass in for Taylor, knocked away by Gorman. Gorman in his own zone pins Taylor to the boards. Here comes Dale Hoganson, lost it to John Tonelli. Tonelli in turn loses it to Roberto. Now to Gorman in the center ice zone. Shella breaks it up, clears it ahead in center ice. Now Hoganson up with it, moves into the Houston zone, gave it away to Tonelli, who overskates it now, and Gorman has it to Frank Beaton. Beaton clears it down into the corner in the Aero zone, back after it Ted Taylor. Now around on right wing for Cam Connor. Connor checked by Westrom, cleared it out in center ice, and here's Hoganson with Tonelli all over him. Now Hoganson almost gave it away to Connor, Beaton with it, gives it away to Taylor. Taylor ahead for Connor on the left wing, off his skate. It's picked up by Westrom. The Aeros leading 3-2. Now Westrom to Beaton along the near boards, got away from Connor, but cleared it out. Shella brought it back in offside. Is now Shella and Beaton push and shove. They drop the sticks and gloves. Everybody else getting into the middle of it. Now here's Shella in a tussling match with Beaton. Beaton on the bottom. Shella And Beaton just wrestling around. The linesmen move in and try to break it up. And everybody in close quarters, so no actual punches thrown, as Shella and Beaton square off and have one another tied up. And we're going to be getting penalties here. The linesmen try to pry the two of them apart. And let's see if they can get Beaton separated from Shella after Beaton hit Shella over at that Aeros bench. That's a tough place to start things like that. Now Shella gets up, as does Beaton, and we're going to be getting penalties here. Let's see if there's any further action as they make their way over to the penalty box. Everything seems to be in order as Shella heads to the sin bin, as does Frank Beaton. And we're going to be getting penalties here. And from the Coliseum in Birmingham, this is Hьюстон Aéros. Birmingham Bulls each get 7 minutes.
Well, they pick up 2 and 5 each. It started just by the Aeros bench there. Shella got a couple of shots in early. Beaton with that left hand. Shella taking him down over his back. Boy, there's a lot of strength involved in that one. That can take it out of you. But, of course, with the major penalties, Jerry, both teams will be playing with the regular 5 men aside.
10:41 of the second period, the time of the penalties. Shella and Beaton, high-sticking minors and majors for fighting. Jerry Trupiano along with Jack Stanfield. We're back here in Birmingham, 3-2. The Aeros leading. The Bulls have it in their own zone. Here is Jim Turkowitz in center ice. Checked by Tonelli and John Hughes. The Aeros break it up. Turkowitz goes back to his own blue line for it for the Birmingham Bulls. On left wing, almost gave it away to Tonelli. Tonelli all over Turkowitz. Now Stewart battles for it. Loose puck in the center ice zone. Brent Hughes takes over for Birmingham. Checked by Taylor. Now to Stevenson. He hits Al McLeod with it. Here come the Aeros back the other way. Ted Taylor for Houston. Taylor moving in, a pass through for Connor. Connor racing in on the inboard. Centers in the front. Tonelli has it knocked away by Stevenson. Now Frank Mahavlich gave it away to Taylor. Taylor lost it to Stevenson, who clears it out. Here's Mahavlich checked by Taylor. Up with it, Stevenson wearing that bird cage face mask, protecting a broken nose. Now in center ice, it's picked up by Al McLeod of the Aeros to Cam Connor. Now ahead for Tonelli. It's intercepted by Stewart. John Stewart misses the puck as he was checked by Cam Connor. It's tied up over at that Birmingham bench just below us here to our left in play is Carl. What do you think of the action thus far?
Well, I think the Aeros have certainly not lost any momentum. They had that little lapse, and it was a couple of quick goals, but they still have remained a determined hockey club, and that's a good sign.
We should mention for the fans who are newcomers to this game, with coincidental major penalties, neither team has to play a man short.
That means 5 minutes or 7 minutes as both players just received.
Now the puck comes back to Hoganson at the right point in the Houston zone, working in against Paul Popeil. Now Preston checks Hoganson along the far boards. 4 players jam up and hold it and play is called. And this is the kind of game where you see the referees blowing the whistle quickly to keep things in order and from breaking out.
And I think particularly as the game has developed, it's been a little rougher here and a little more aggressive action in the second period.
Face off to the left of Zimmerman in the Houston zone. Ruskowski against Stewart. Loose puck. Ruskowski got it to Preston, and here comes Rich Preston for the Aeros. In center ice, checked by Henderson. Preston flips it down into the Birmingham zone. Garrett out to set it up for Pat Westrom. In his own zone, on the wing for Castellato. Shoots it out in center ice for Marin down the right side. Clears it into the Houston zone. Now going back to get it for the Aeros defenseman, Larry Hale. Hale starting up. Cleared it ahead for Ruskowski. Too far ahead. Going back to get it for the Bulls, Westrom. But Garrett comes out to play it because there was not going to be an icing call on it. Now Preston keeps that puck in play into the Birmingham zone. Now Westrom a pass on the near boards for Henderson. He's checked by Ruskowski, but clears it to the Houston line where Larry Hale has it ahead for Kerry Ruskowski. In center ice, checked by Paul Henderson trying to move in. He lost it, picking it up with Castellato. Now to Marin. In front for Castellato. Larry Hale breaks it up. Now here is Castellato centering it. It's off the stick of Preston, who rolls to the blue line, held in by Hoganson with a nice play. He centers it. Zimmerman knocks it away. Now Castellato dumps it in front. Bulls couldn't get to it. Lukowicz shoots it out, and here's a foot race for it. Rich Preston against Dale Hoganson. Preston with it. Stopping now, trying to move around the defense, is pulled down. Aeros thought there should have been a penalty. Now the Aeros keep it in there. Here's Terry Ruskowski. In front for Lukowicz, and he lost it to Hoganson. The Aeros missing a great chance there. Here come the Bulls. Back on the right wing, it's Merritt. In across the line with Henson. Larry Hale breaks it up. Out for John Laraway. Laraway down the left wing. In against Brent Hughes. He stops now. Laraway trying to make a play. Dumps it in front. It's picked up by the Bulls, and here they come. The Aeros in a line change. Lead pass for Gorman. Now to Roberto. He missed it. And Larry Lund has it for the Aeros. Out in center ice for Henstis. Ron Henstis moving in, but it's a 2-line pass offside at the center ice red line. And play is called. Everything was happening there for a moment.
So many turnarounds. Awfully exciting. explaining that two-line pass, Gary. Coming out of your own zone, a player cannot advance too far ahead of the play. In other words, he cannot go over the center ice zone and take a pass from somebody within his own zone, and that's what happened there. Hansen's moving too far ahead of the play.
The Aeros leading 3-2 here in the second period at Birmingham. Al McLeod in his own zone for Houston, now to Ron Henson. Out in center ice to Larry Lund with Laraway, 2-on-1. Here's Lund, in for Laraway, in! A shot, that's stopped by Garrett. Rebound goes to Turkowitz. On the end boards in the Birmingham zone on right wing for Roberto, checked by Al McLeod. Here's Laraway taking a golf swing at it. Couldn't keep it in. McLeod in center ice trying to get his team back on side. Shoots it to the Birmingham line. Here's Laraway trying to move in. He's knocked down on the play by a Bulls player. That was Turkowitz. It's picked up by Brent Hughes. Veteran defenseman Brent Hughes out in center ice to Dave Gorman with Henson and Roberto. Here's Gorman looking to make a play to Roberto, and Zimmerman breaks it up. Now Gorman with it again. On the end boards for Roberto. Now a pass to Henson. Rolls it to the side of the goal. Zimmerman covers up on the puck and play is called. 5:47 remaining here in the second period of play. Houston 3, Birmingham 2.
Now we're going to visit with the captain of the Aeros, Terry Ruskowski, and Don the Dart Laraway. Be able to talk about that great play that Laraway made on that go-ahead goal.
Don Laraway is passing the puck as well this year, I think, as he ever has.
I think he'll maybe give us a little insight into that in between the second and third period.
Face off to the right of Lynn Zimmerman. John Tonelli against Stewart, a pair of number 18s on the draw. Stewart flips it in front in the slot. Here's Hoganson fanning on it. He's knocked down. Here's Tonelli for the Aeros. With Taylor and Connor, a pass for Connor off the target. He comes up with it now, trying to shoot it in for Tonelli. It's offside with Taylor there first. That's the Birmingham blue line. That's one of those plays. You see a 2-on-1 situation. You want, like heck, to get it ahead to your forward, and then it just rolls off your stick.
Well, they kind of can leave you in your sleep a few nights, or leave you out of your sleep a few nights.
Cam Connor sporting a red eye, a black eye. He got hit in the head with the puck the other night in Cincinnati.
Part of this game, the stick or the puck, a lot of times are the parts of the game that are going to give you those gashes, but you go in and get stitched up and back into action.
Ruskowski, Preston, and Lukowicz out against Stewart, Mahovlich, and Napier for the Birmingham Bulls. Here's Terry Ruskowski, bumped on the play by Westrom. They both go down. Now in center ice, here's Dale Hoganson dumping it down to the far end of the Houston zone. Back is Stewart. Popeil takes him out along the board. Now they battle for the puck. It's centered for Napier. Here's Hoganson, a chance. He may have grazed the post with that one. Napier with it, trying to make a play, gave it away to Lukowicz, and the Aeros start back. Stopping now Lukowicz at his own line. He's bumped by Napier. Here comes Paul Popeil for the Aeros. Lead pass for Lukowicz, in on right wing, trying to get around Westrom, goes in deep, looking to make a play. It's Lukowicz on the end board for Ruskowski. He missed it. Here's Hoganson, bumped on the play by Preston and knocked down. Here's Mahovlich in against Ruskowski, now to Preston. Preston for Lukowicz, it's taken away, and here comes Mahovlich for Birmingham. Moving to his own line in center right. Frank Mahovlich, in, a shot blocked by Larry Hale, rebound. Napier with it, checked by Terry Ruskowski, now to Lukowicz. Tried to flip it out for Preston. Napier breaks it up. Here's Brent Hughes for Birmingham, in for Mahovlich on the right wing. Going in against Paul Popeil. He looks to get it over for Marin. Marin fakes the shot, now to Urbano. He missed it, and here comes Lukowicz back for the Aeros to Ruskowski. Ahead for Lukowicz, in across the line. Now to Preston, in, a shot. Hits the leg in front. Now we have Ruskowski and Urbano bringing the sticks up. Play goes right on. Urbano and Ruskowski. Drop the sticks and gloves, and here's Terry Ruskowski landing it right on Urbano and another right. Ruskowski flailing away with the right hand. Now the linesmen move in and try to separate Urbano and Ruskowski. Now Urbano throws a right hand, hits the linesman, hits him again. In they go to the ice. Now the linesmen try to pry Urbano and Ruskowski apart. As we told you, those linesmen have a tough job, and they're trying to pry apart a couple of hard-nosed competitors here. Terry Ruskowski of the Aeros and Steve Urbano of the Bulls, and now Ruskowski lands a right hand as they get loose. Now Urbano has a hold of Ruskowski's sweater, trying to get it over his head. The linesman trying to pry Urbano and Ruskowski apart. Have them partially separated. And now they're totally separated, and we're going to be getting more penalties here as Steve Urbano and Terry Ruskowski went at it off to our right in the Birmingham zone, and we're getting penalties here for sure as Ruskowski and the linesman talk it over. I think Mickey Jasko may have taken a couple of shots to the head by Steve Urbano as Durbano tried to get a poke or two in at Terry Ruskowski.
One thing, Ruskowski didn't have to fire it through that helmet because Durbano's helmet had come off. Ruskowski getting a couple of quick ones. There isn't anybody quicker with the shots there than Ruskowski. He's the quickest in the league, but of course you're going against pretty good odds when you've got a 6'1", 200-pounder standing there facing you.
We're going to be getting penalties here from the Coliseum in Birmingham. This is Hьюстон Aéros Hockey. Products distributed by Outdoor Equipment Incorporated. We're getting penalties here to Terry Ruskowski, the Aeros, and Steve Durbano of the Birmingham Bulls.
Jerry, I don't know what it is, but the guys that we're going to talk to between periods is certainly the highlight of each period. Laraway with that fine play now. Ruskowski in action here against Durbano. We're going to be interested to talk to him about that one. And the Birmingham fans not all that happy with the call. In fact, many of them standing and thumbs down. It's an awfully partisan crowd. And we're going to get high sticking and fighting. And high sticking and fighting going to both, and a game misconduct coming to the Birmingham player. 5 of those penalties at 15 minutes and 47 seconds.
Some of those fans, I think, tried to get into it down to our right, and some of the Aeros players went over to make sure Mr. Ruskowski got off the ice okay. So Durbano has gone for the game for gross misconduct, pulling the hair of Terry Ruskowski.
There's a possibility he may have gone. If he didn't get, I'll tell you one thing, if he didn't get it for pulling the hair, we know what he got it for, because hitting a referee is not exactly a good part of the action. And he fired a couple that, that's why that job of the referees, Jerry, is awfully difficult. You get both guys in there swinging blindly, and you can get one.
Linesmen have to pry those guys apart, and it's a tough job, but it was for pulling hair that Durbano got the gross misconduct for. That's a game misconduct. I don't know if there's any suspension involved or not. We'll have to check the rule book, but
I think it's an infraction that on the second or third time it's called, Jerry, there is a more of a game misconduct situation after, or a fine involved with the incident. But I know the same thing happened earlier in the year against Edmonton when the Aeros were playing Edmonton.
Then Dave Semenko grabbed Cam Connors there.
Right.
Well, we're back to live action. It's been a little rugged here in the second period. Aero is leading the hockey game 3-2. In the Hьюstон zone, Cam Connor got it to Ted Taylor. The Aeros move out. Taylor flips it in for John Tonelli, moving in around Turkowitz. Tonelli goes to the corner, tries to make a play. He's tied up along the board. Now to Cam Connor. Connor for the Aeros, looking for an open man. Got it back at the point for John Hughes. Hughes in front for Tonelli. He deflected wide. Now Connor for the Aeros. Centers it. It's off a stick of the Bulls. And Marin brings it out in center ice and starts back for Birmingham, but he gave it away to John Tonelli. Here's Tonelli twisting and turning in center ice ahead for Scott Campbell. Moving to the Birmingham line. He's checked, lost the puck. And Brent Hughes clears it down the ice for the Bulls. They will be called for icing. Back to touch it, John Hughes. And the Birmingham Bulls are called for icing.
Well, when you can put the pressure on and get the Bulls in a situation where they're going to start dumping the puck, you know that they're a little bit frazzled, and that's when you can take advantage of them. The Aeros are doing a good job of forechecking, Jerry, staying on top of the Birmingham club, and I think with the speed back on defense that you look at with the Birmingham club, they're not all that quick, so forechecking is going to be a key factor. You can make them give it away and pick it up.
A new line for the Aeros as they face off to the left of Garrett. Lukowicz with Preston and Hensis as Bill Deneen juggles the line. It's going to be Gorman, Henson, and Roberto for Birmingham. And from the face-off, Lukowicz battles for it. Henson in there against Preston. It goes to the end boards. Now we have Preston battling Westrom for it. Lukowicz moving in for the Aeros, trying to get it. Does center it for Hensis. Ron Hensis for the Aeros, dumps it on the end boards. Preston checked again by Westrom. Here's Rich Preston still with that puck. Watched by Henson and Westrom. Preston fighting to keep it in play. Now it comes loose in the corner. Here's Lukowicz stepping into Gorman. Westrom and Preston push and shove, and now Gorman and Preston pushing. Here comes Hansen over for Birmingham. The linesman gets there. I tell you, a real Pier 6 job can erupt here before it's all over tonight.
Well, the thing that starts it is when everybody starts milling together, getting tightly together. Some of the rules instituted last year has sort of, we've been infringing on the interpretation of them as the season goes along. But face off to the left of Garrett.
Lukowicz against Gorman, and the Arrows got the draw to Hansis, but he was checked by Roberto, and here comes Gorman down the left wing in center ice. Larry Hale picks it up for the Arrows. Now to Morris Lukowicz, bumped on the play by Westrom. It rolls into the Bulls zone and back to get it. Bill Hoganson, red-haired defenseman of the Birmingham Bulls. Bill Hoganson, the Birmingham captain, flips it over on the near wing now to Westrom, moving up to his own line in center ice. Now to Gorman, shooting it into the Houston zone. And out of the goal, Zimmerman back of that net, steers it on left wing for Morris Lukowicz. Takes a funny hop off, comes back to the line. It's held in by Hansen of the Bulls. Hansen, a shot deflected, hit the goal post. That shot by Hansen was deflected and hit the post. Now Hansen checked Lukowicz. The Arrows dump it to center ice. Up with it is Turkowicz. He clears it to the Houston zone. Larry Hale has it. Hale out in center ice for Hansen. Checked by Hansen. Now moving in, it's Gorman to Hansen, dumping it over on the far corner boards in the Houston zone. Roberto moving in. Paul Popeil pulls him down. Here's Stewart with it. Stewart rolls it in front. Oh, they score! Dave Hansen. It started like it looked like it was going wide, but it wound up going in behind Zimmerman. And Hansen for the Bulls gets his second goal of the year to tie it at 3-3, and that one hurt.
Well, that puck was just harmlessly, or not so harmlessly, but going by the Arrows goal. It looked like it deflected off the player. Hansen rolled almost up his body. We'll take a close look. Off a stick, up the body, and over top of Zimmerman. It almost looked like it had radar on it to work its way in behind Zimmerman. But a little bit of a bad break for the Arrows. 18:01 the time of the goal. And certainly setting a stage for a great third period of action. We've had quite a hockey game, Jerry.
Minute 59 remaining in the second period, so that one was scored at 18:01 of the second period. Hansen is second of the year. We'll get the assist for you in just a moment. Laraway has it for the Arrows. Now to Larry Lund, in for John Gray. It hops over his stick as it rolls into the Birmingham zone, and Bob Stevenson back after it. Clears it ahead on the wing. Laraway intercepts for the Arrows back at the right point. John Hughes missed it. Here's Al McLeod for Houston. Now to Larry Lund, and they call it offside at the Birmingham blue line. Hansen is second from Roberto and Stewart at 18:01. For Stewart, that's his second assist of the night. Having quite a game, young John Stewart, who hails from Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, no wonder.
You like those Ontario boys, being one yourself.
Well, of course, a lot of fine hockey players produced in that Toronto district. You could name a few.
Few of the Stanfields, right?
Sure.
Now Lund out there with Gray and Laraway against Stewart, Mahovlich, and Stevenson. 3-3 game. Now here is Al McLeod on right wing to John Hughes in the center ice zone. He's bumped by Turkowicz. Up with it, Stewart down the left wing, moving in against Al McLeod. Dumps it back for Stevenson. The Arrows break it up. Here's Larry Lund for Houston. He couldn't clear it. Mahovlich holds it in. Frank Mahovlich checked by Lund. Got it now to Brent Hughes. He's checked on the play by Gray, and here comes Gray with Laraway, but Brent Hughes breaks it up with a tremendous defensive play for the Birmingham Bulls. He gave up his body for that one, throwing himself down around the skates and the sticks, and Brent Hughes made quite an effort.
Well, he stretched out. He knew it was a dangerous situation. If Gray broke away, it would have been a 2-on-1. He just reached out with that stick and hooked it back into his body, but great effort. As we mentioned, he has been one thorn in the side of the Arrows, and former teammate of yours truly.
Here come the Arrows back. Cam Connor trying to split the defense, moves in against Westrom, pulls Westrom down. The goaltender out, hit the post. Connor hit the post, and he pulled Garrett out. Now, here come the Birmingham Bulls the other way. 1:07 left here in the second period. 3-3 game. They clear it into the Houston zone. Going in, Paul Popeil checked by Castellato and Henderson. Shella has that puck, ties it up along the boards with Castellato with 59 seconds remaining here in the second period. And it's tied at 3-3. Face-off will be to the right of Arrows goaltender Lynn Zimmerman. Cam Connor had a chance as he moved through that Birmingham defense. Then Westrom cut him off. Connor pulled him down. May have been a penalty there. The goaltender Garrett came out to cut down the angle, and Connor hit the post off to the right, where the Birmingham goaltender should have been. 59 seconds left in the second period. 3-3 game. Face off to the right of Lynn Zimmerman in that Houston zone. Lund on the draw against Marin. They get lined up for the face-off. Now the puck is dropped, and the Arrows get it to John Shella. Over on left wing for Taylor. He takes the pass off the boards. Out in center ice for Larry Lund, who knocked it down. Hit it with a high stick. Play is called. Birmingham Bulls picked it up. It was hit by a Houston player with a high stick. And there are 53 seconds remaining here in the second period. 3-3 game. Jack Stanfield will have a couple of guests for you at the end of period number 2 here, and we'll recap the scoring and bring you a little more conversation regarding tonight's game and the Hьюstон Aéros. Here is Cam Connor flipping it ahead in center ice. Westrom for the Bulls. Shoots it in off Shella into the Houston zone. Up with it, Henderson trying to make a play. Centers it. John Tonelli breaks it up for the Aéros, and here they come. 3-on-3. Tonelli down the right wing with Taylor and Connor. Here's Tonelli moving in. He lost it, 2. Hoganson back on the left wing. Here come the Bulls, 3-on-2, and across the line, Hoganson. Now to Henderson, he overskates it. Cam Connor has it for the Aéros. In the far corner to Paul Popeil. 24 seconds left in the period. Paul Popeil out for Cam Connor in the center ice zone. Long shot from center off the stick of Westrom. It goes to the far corner. Castellano in his own zone. Gave it away to Connor. Centering it. Taylor a shot. That's blocked. Here come the Bulls. 12 seconds left. Moving through center, Henderson against Popeil. And on the right wing into the Houston zone. Looks to center it. Popeil breaks it up. Now Popeil on the end boards in his own end. Got it to Shella. 2 seconds left. He clears it ahead for Tonelli, and that's going to do it for the second period as the Hьюstон Aéros and the Birmingham Bulls go off at the end of 2 periods, tied at 3-3 in a heck of a hockey game. There's a surprising note. The Birmingham Bulls outshot the Hьústон Aéros 14-4 in the second period of play. 14-4, the Bulls out shooting the Aéros in the second period, but it's all tied up at 3-3. Jack Stanfield will be coming along shortly with a couple of interviews for you. It's the Aéros 3, the Bulls 3 at the end of 2 periods, and from the Coliseum in Birmingham.